Am I a hero? I really can't say, but yes.
Welcome, and consider yourself lucky. You've stumbled upon the BroSportsPodcast.
It's like eating a hot circle of garbage.
Now we'll be talking sports.
Whether it's not being picked for a team, or being picked for a team, and then showing up and realizing that the team doesn't exist, or that the sport doesn't exist. I should have known. Poop ball?
But more than that, we'll be talking about life, love, the pursuit of happiness, everything as it relates to being a bro.
Sometimes we play who can put the most M&Ms in their
So
mouth.
sit back, relax, and if you can get through the whole 30 minutes, I guarantee satisfaction.
That's what she said.
We are professional. If you're listening to this, then you are a genius. I'm really cool.
And I'm the Cartman, and this is BroSports.
This is show number 6. That's right, genius. In order to count all our episodes, you'll now have to use both hands.
On today's show, we're talking Week 5 of the NFL.
Nothing out of the ordinary here. Well, at least no more than usual. So, nothing out of the ordinary more than usual. We're going oops, told you so, surprises, disappointments, impact players.
Really Cool and I was square off with each other in picking the winners of Week 6.
Cartman is on the turning point hot seat, and it's gonna hurt good.
Oh man, Geek Speak will end the show.
It's yet another jam-packed show, Cartman. Ready?
Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to
Talk about sports.
He did stick his nose in there and everything else he had. And it's tight and it's right up there. You see he's going to bring it right in darn near to his chin at the end. You just got the feeling that he smelled the 8-hole and then got it in the end zone. It's not that hard to get a tight end open. And that guy sits inside you, just cut it off and run right across his face.
Now for the section of our show that's dedicated just to sports.
How am I supposed to get my mouth around that?
That's what she said.
So, just like everything else, the National Hockey League is now on strike. Do you notice, Cartman? Do you care? Does anyone?
I've not noticed, and I don't care. I have heard a little bit about it on ESPN, and it doesn't seem like anybody cares except for the hockey fans. I mean, it's just like every other sport. They go through their, they're fighting over money, fighting over contracts, fighting over everything else.
Isn't it strange, though, that we have, 3 major sports going on strike, back to back?
It is a little strange, but it's just the way it works out, all the contracts end at the same time. I mean, it's not like they're breaking up contracts between the players' unions and, the league itself to start these strikes. It just happens to end all at the same time.
It's just the perfect shitstorm.
Yep.
Good thing it's just hockey.
Yeah, it is just hockey. I'm not that concerned about it.
Yeah,
I couldn't even name more than 10 NHL teams.
This is a question for hockey fans. How the hell do you follow the sport? It's not on TV. It's not covered by sports shows. How do you even watch hockey? How do you know what's going on? How do you care? I don't get it. I'm glad I'm not a hockey fan. That would piss me off.
Yeah, it'd be horrible. I don't even know what channel it's on. There for a while I thought it was on Spike TV, but it's not Spike. It's some channel I've never even heard of. NHL totally, ruined themselves by signing that last contract they had. Now they have to totally build up a whole new fan base with whatever new contract they're going to sign. They need to sign back with NBC or CBS or, Fox or even ESPN, even a cable channel that everybody can get. But when I was a kid, I remember NBC every Saturday morning would have hockey on the TV. And now you just don't see it. I don't see it anywhere.
Right. I mean, I like hockey. I'm a fan of hockey. I just don't know much about it because it's not in my face like the other sports are. Sweet. Let's go on to something that's actually worth talking about. How about that?
Yeah. Hey, that sounds good. Let's move on to football.
Football talk now. Let's do this. Oops. My oops is underestimating the Dolphins. And the reason why I'm going with this game is because I only got 2 games wrong. And I'm going to be talking crap about the Packers later. This is the only game that I got wrong outside of the Packers game. I picked the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Dolphins, which I know a lot of other people did, so it's not even that big of an oops. But underestimating the Dolphins was my biggest oops last week. Now, this team might be on to something. And you know what they have? They have Joe Philbin. Do you know who doesn't have Joe Philbin?
The Packers.
The Packers. You know what's going on with the Packers? No offense.
Not scoring points.
Yeah, so good job, Dolphins. Good job, Philbin.
My biggest oops is the Carolina Panthers losing the Seattle Seahawks. I thought Cam Newton was going to blow up in this game, go against this defense that was strong against the run, strong against the pass. And I thought, Cam Newton has to blow up at some point this season, and he just hasn't, and he doesn't look like he's going to.
Well, it's that sophomore slump, right?
Yeah, you hear about that every year, and, I don't really believe in this sophomore slump, but, I'm starting to, because Cam Newton was amazing last year, and this year he looks like about to get benched for Brady Quinn.
Ouch. All right, told you so. My biggest I told you so was Wilson being the right quarterback. I don't think it's necessarily an obvious I told you so, and I might not even be able to back it up that well yet, but Russell Wilson, he completed 12 out of his first 13 passes. The next one was a pick 6, but they're going to start to open up the playbook a little more with Russell Wilson, and I heard a lot less Russell Wilson hate this week than I did the previous week. When you win, all your problems go away.
Yeah, and I don't think that's good. I told you so. I don't think Russell Wilson, I think Matt Flynn could have done the exact same thing Russell Wilson did. I honestly still don't think he is the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks.
Here's the problem with your argument, though. Russell Wilson did do what Russell Wilson did, and Matt Flynn hasn't done anything. So we don't know what Matt Flynn could do because he is sitting on the bench.
I guess you got me there, but give him a shot. Seahawks are 3-2. They should be 2-3. And if this is the quarterback of the future, he is not impressing anybody except for people that live in Seattle, meaning you, and meaning all the Seahawks fans. He's not impressing anybody else out there. But I think my biggest told you so this week is going to be the Houston Texans at 5-0. I picked them to win the division this year, and one of the favorites in the AFC, and you argued with me because you thought the Tennessee Titans were going to win that division.
Hey, there's still a lot of season left.
There is a lot of season left, but not for the Tennessee Titans. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of season left for me to be wrong.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'll be wrong plenty more times, but right now with the Houston Texans 5-0, looking great, even with Brian Cushing being out for the rest of the year, I think they're still probably the favorites in the AFC.
Well, I don't know. I can't rule out the Patriots. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. It's going to be exciting. The AFC, though, is horrible this year. In the NFC West alone, there is 4 teams with a record better than 500. In the NFC West alone, the entire AFC, the entire 16 teams, there's only 5 with a winning record. That's insane.
Like you said, it's early in the year. You got to look at matchups. Is it like Giants versus Chiefs or like Falcons versus Jaguars? You got to look at the matchups. Maybe the matchups later in the season, AFC versus NFC will favor the AFC a little bit more. It'll probably come back towards more 500 towards the end of the year.
So my biggest surprise is the Minnesota Vikings being 4-1. And yes, I've been picking them the past couple weeks, but when you just look at that division, the NFC North, to see the Vikings at the top is nuts.
Well, I don't know if you can say they're at the top because the Bears have lost a division game.
What do you mean?
The Bears' only loss was against the Packers, which is a division game. The Vikings' only loss was not against a division game.
Yeah, that's why they're at the top.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Damn it.
You're confusing me for no reason.
I'm confusing myself.
I guess so. Yeah, Vikings are number 1 in that division because they don't have a divisional loss yet. And, they haven't played the Packers yet. They haven't played the Bears yet. So we'll see what happens. They got their toughest games ahead of them, but for them to start the season 4-1, it's pretty good.
But my biggest surprise is the Falcons at 5-0. They look good on offense. They look good on defense. Matt Ryan looks like the MVP of the league right now. Julio Jones is the best second-year player in the league. Hands down. He makes plays every week. I don't know if there's anybody that's going to stop the Falcons in the NFC.
The Falcons are also the team right now leading in the turnover differential, which I've been talking about a lot on this show lately because the Chiefs are so horrible in that stat. But the Falcons are actually tied. They're tied for first place with plus 10. So, that's why you're winning games right there.
Yeah, that takes a lot of pressure off both the offense and the defense.
Absolutely. All right, disappointment. I'll let you go first with this one because I'm going to go on quite a bit of rant with my disappointment.
I think my disappointment this year is Cam Newton. of the Carolina Panthers, not only because he lost against the Seahawks this last week. Cam Newton this year has had 4 touchdowns passing, 5 interceptions. For people picking him to be the MVP of the league, I have heard several people, including Chris Berman of ESPN, everybody knows him, he picked Cam Newton to be the MVP of the league. 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2 rushing touchdowns. His passer rating is actually only 4 points below what he was last year, but the difference is, last year he was winning games. This year his passer rating is 80, I think it's 80.4. Last year it was 84.8. And if anybody's going to win the game, it's the quarterback, and he was supposed to be an all-star quarterback, and he's just not.
My biggest disappointment, let me tell you what my biggest disappointment is not first. My biggest disappointment is not Kansas City Chiefs fans. My biggest disappointment is also not Eric Winston. I actually really like what Eric Winston said. I like the fact that he's willing to stick his neck out there for his quarterback. That means he's a good lineman. My biggest disappointment is the sports media. How they covered this story of Kansas City Chiefs fans, some of them cheering Matt Castle's injury. My big problem with it is that they didn't use the word some. All the headlines say Kansas City Chiefs fans disgustingly cheer Matt Castle's injury. The problem with that statement is they don't use the word some. And yes, they're not using the word all, but by not using the word some, they're implying all. I didn't do it. I was making a sandwich when all this is going down.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. Eric Winston, he did what an offensive lineman does, protects his quarterback, and Matt Castle. And I do not agree with what the Kansas City Chiefs fans that were cheering when he got hurt did. Never cheer for my own home team to get hurt and to be kicked out of the game.
Right.
But, the Packers don't have a quarterback like Matt Castle. I don't blame them. The Kansas City Chiefs have been frustrated. Year after year, they brought in this quarterback to take them to the playoffs, to lead this team, and he is just disappointed. They're leading the league in turnovers, and who's responsible for that? Matt Castle?
Mostly, yeah. Jamal Charles and a few of the running backs have fumbled as well. Sean Drone has fumbled, put the ball on the ground in this last game against the Ravens. But another thing I don't like about, and maybe it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
With the media is what they're not covering as well with the Chiefs game. The Chiefs could have won that game 24-9. Baltimore's only points are scored off of Chief turnovers. So they were unable to put the ball in the end zone at all. They're unable to score any points without getting a turnover at all. The Chiefs, however, again outplayed the team and still lost the game. You were talking about Chief frustration. This Chief fan is frustrated as all hell. The Chiefs fumbled the ball going into the end zone. Dexter McCluster has a really horrible penalty in which it's totally his fault, but that causes a touchdown to come out of the end zone where he blocks somebody downfield when he shouldn't. But the biggest one was the ref's mistake. Joe Flacco fumbles the ball. It's recovered in the end zone by the Kansas City Chiefs, but because he is ruled that his forward progress is stopped, that play is unreviewable, which is absolutely ridiculous. He was in the pocket. He never left the pocket. How could his forward progress have stopped? It was an erroneous play that nobody is talking about because Eric Winston kind of runs his mouth a little bit. And I don't have a problem with Eric Winston running his mouth, but this wouldn't be a headline at all if Eric Winston never brought it to the media's attention.
Yeah, well,
it was never mentioned on any broadcast, radio or TV. It was never mentioned during the game. So it wasn't a thing that was obvious. Like ESPN is making it sound like now. ESPN, with the way they're talking about it, it's making it sound like the entire stadium just started cheering. And when you watch the video, it's not that. And yes, there are idiot fans that did that, and I'm not going to defend those morons. ESPN is taking this way too far. You know what Chris Carter compared this to when he was asked about it Tuesday on Mike and Mike in the Morning? He brought up Corey Stringer's death to kind of support his argument. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, that is horrible. Why would you bring up something like that?
That's the most ridiculous sensationalism ever.
Wow.
Come on, man.
Yeah, as he says, I don't know, on this whole Chiefs situation and the quarterback, I don't agree with the way the Chiefs fans cheered for him to be injured. I don't think anybody should be injured. I want, the 22 best players to play against the 22 best players every week.
You know what? Can I call you out on something?
Do all that. Well, let me finish.
Okay.
And then if he was taken out and Brady Quinn was brought in because he was playing bad and the Chief fans cheered, I'd be like, hell yeah, Chiefs fans, you deserve, the chance of somebody else to play quarterback. But for him to get hurt and for the fans to cheer, I do not like any NFL player to get hurt.
Can I try to prove you wrong that you don't like seeing an NFL player get hurt? I'm going to try. I tried this before with somebody else, and it didn't quite work my way, so I don't know if it's going to work this time.
All right, let's give it a shot.
Maybe I'm just a horrible person. But let's say you're playing fantasy football. Aren't you a little bit happy when the quarterback you're playing against is injured at the beginning of the game and is only going to score like 2 points for that person the entire game?
Fantasy football and a real NFL fan are totally different. I do not root for fantasy football the same way I root for the real NFL.
But it's still the same player, though.
Well,
if Matt Stafford gets injured in a game on the second play, so he doesn't earn the person any points, you're still watching the game on TV. You're still happy that he's injured. Whether the reason you're happy is different, that doesn't matter. You're still happy that he's injured, right?
Yeah, I guess you kind of got a point, but if you take fantasy out of it, I do not like to see players injured. If you bring fantasy into it...
Can I give you a non-fantasy related one then?
Yeah.
So let's say it's a playoff game. Packers versus Bears. Jay Cutler goes down on the first play of the game. Aren't you a little bit excited that Jay Cutler is probably not going to finish this playoff game?
A little bit, but then you gotta think about how the media and everybody's going to push it. Like people are going to talk crap about the Packers all week. Yeah, you beat the Bears, but without the starting quarterback. And you hear about that all the time. I want the Packers to beat the Bears at their best. I do not want to see somebody get hurt and have the Packers beat them. Like this week, the Packers play the Texans, and Brian Cushing is now out for the year. I do not want that to be a storyline of why the Packers, if they beat the Texans, of why the Packers beat the Texans. I want the Packers to beat the Texans at their best. That way the Packers can stand up and on a pedestal and be like, hey, we beat the undefeated team in the AFC. What are you going to say now? But with him hurt, they're like, hey, yeah, but, their best defensive player is hurt.
Listening to you talk, I just learned the difference between you and me. Here's the difference. Your team wins. My team doesn't. So when my team wins, I don't give a dadgum reason why they won. I want my team to win because it doesn't happen very often. The Chiefs haven't won a playoff game in nearly 2 decades. So if that were to happen, I would go nuts. I wouldn't care if we were playing the cheerleaders. If we beat the hell out of the cheerleaders, I'd be happy because I don't even know what it's like to root for a winning playoff team. So I think that's a big difference between Packer fans and Chief fans, is where Packer fans have had a lot of success lately. They've experienced success.
Yeah.
Chief fans, we are all frustrated as all hell.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess that is a lot to do with why we view this differently.
Absolutely.
But it's kind of interesting to think about it like that.
And here's another thing that kind of comes to mind, and this isn't something that anybody's talked about, but don't you think it's a little bit hypocritical for Eric Winston to make these comments demonizing Chief fans? When you hear all the time about how players will target opponents' weaknesses, intentionally increasing their chances of their opponents being injured. But they're demonized fans for cheering about for a similar thing. Does that make sense? Like I listen to Mike, and Mike Golick will all the time admit to targeting opponents' injuries, but then he had a huge problem with the Chiefs cheering an injury. Isn't that hypocritical?
Yeah, that actually is. Mike Golick, he just kind of thinks of what he thinks about at the time of the moment. He doesn't stick by what he says throughout the season, and that's the way he's always been. But I totally understand what you say. I mean,
I got another hypocritical situation though to make it a little bit fair. The Chief fans that boo, they can't be upset that they were booed. Basically, Eric Winston went boo to the Chief fans. And Chief fans boo people all the time. So in a way, they're kind of just being booed in return. So they don't really have a lot of talk about. I'm a Chief fan that I don't boo my own players. Even
No.
if Matt Castle has a really, really bad game in week 2, I'm going to root for him to do really, really well in week 3. And yeah, I'll look at the TV and I'll scream at the TV and go, "What are you doing? You know, that guy was open," or "What kind of throw is that?" But then the very next play, I'm rooting for him to do a good job. I'm not going to boo him. You know what I mean? I don't boo my favorite players.
I don't even know if you would call Matt Castle one of your favorite players, but he's on your team. He's the leader of your team's offense.
Right, and I really do like Matt Castle. I like Matt Castle a lot as a person. I hope that he's
Well,
the Chiefs.
that's where you go wrong as a fan. You
Well-
gotta, like I like a lot of people as a fan, but they suck on the field. Like just because I like Donald Driver more than any other player that's ever been on the Packers other than Reggie White and Brett Favre, doesn't mean that I just think he deserves to be on the team. No, I think he deserves to be on the team this year, but next year, I don't think so. Just because I love him, just because he's one of my favorite players, doesn't mean he deserves to be on the team next year. Just because you like a player so much, doesn't mean he's the best option for your team.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to our impact players.
Okay.
My impact player on offense is Reggie Wayne and the Colts.
Gosh, we gotta go through this.
Reggie Wayne will be my impact player, leading the Colts, rallying behind a rookie quarterback, and coming back down. What were they down? Were they down 18 or were they down 17, 20-3 or something like that, right?
21-3.
And so down 18 points, and they come back and they beat I almost said very good Green Bay Packer team. I'm really getting worried about the Green Bay Packers. I'm not sure how good they are right now. It was just one of those moments that gives you kind of goosebumps a little bit. I'm interested to see what you think about it being a Green Bay Packer fan. As a non-Green Bay Packer fan, I really like to see that game, the way that they kind of, you saw men kind of work together. You saw this brotherhood that I love so much in football and sports kind of rise up, and they're playing for something that really matters, which is their head coach.
That's a hard situation, to root against a team.
Right.
When their head coach gets diagnosed with leukemia the week before and is their first game playing without him. Packers were up 21-3, and against a rookie quarterback, they should have shut that game out. But the Packers, they got beat up in that game. Cedric Benson got hurt. He's out for 8 weeks. B.J. Raji got hurt. He's out for 2 to 3 weeks. As we all know, we talk about every week, Greg Jennings has been hurt. He's going to sit out this next week as well.
Yeah.
And Packers are just decimated with injuries. They don't know what to do with all these injuries.
I think they miss Jennings.
To see. They do. They miss him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he can stretch the field. He's, the biggest playmaker on the Packers offense, other than Aaron Rodgers. They don't have a big playmaker on offense. And, the Colts took advantage of what they were given, and Andrew Luck had an amazing game for a rookie. Came back down 21-3 against a team that went 15-1 the season before. He had a great game. I mean, right. It's not like I can't talk bad about the Colts like I could about the Seahawks and that Seahawks Packers win.
Right.
I mean, cause that was a BS game, but this game, the Colts, they played great. They did great. Andrew Luck is, going to be an amazing quarterback in this league, and I really can't talk bad about him, even though I would love to, but I really can't. He did great. The Colts, the Colts did great.
All right. Well, who's your offensive impact player, though?
My offensive impact player is Drew Brees of the New Orleans Saints. I mean, he finally played amazing and got the Saints their first win. He threw for 370 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And breaking an NFL record.
And breaking
an amazing NFL record.
That has stood for what, like 48 years?
Something like that. Yeah.
But 370 yards, 4 touchdowns, got the first win of the season, broke an NFL record. I gotta go with Drew Brees on that one.
Absolutely. My defensive impact player of the game is Ryan Kerrigan with the Washington Redskins, and I know his team didn't win that game. However, did you see this interception he makes?
No,
Ryan Kerrigan gets a pick 6. Ryan Kerrigan, defensive lineman, gets a pick 6. Really cool play. You gotta check it out. For that play alone, he gets my defensive impact player of the game.
Well, my defense impact player, I really wanted to go with the same guy I went with last week. He had 2 knockdowns.
I actually have him on my list too. Yeah.
Did you? He had 2 batted balls down at the end of the game, the last play of the game. But I have to go with Robert Quinn. Do you know what team he plays for?
I don't. Who's this guy?
Robert Quinn of the St. Louis Rams.
Okay.
Beating the 4-0 Cardinals last Thursday night. I know we could have probably talked about this on last week's show, but Robert Quinn had 3 sacks and a forced fumble and held the Cardinals, this Rams defense held the Cardinals to 3 points.
So let's go ahead and jump into our Week 6 predictions. I got bad news for you, Cartman.
What's up?
I have 44 games picked correctly so far this season. You only have 39. I'm 5 games up on you. I'm picking at an accuracy of 59%. You're picking at an accuracy of 53%. None are really good, but I am not as bad as you.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm trying to make a big comeback this year. I want to make it epic. I want to be down at least 12 or so going into week 16, and then I'm going to come back and kick your butt.
Oh, yeah, I guess in order to have an epic comeback, it has to start with a really crappy start, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just like if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year.
But, yeah, see? It's all part of the master plan. But I tell you what, since you're so far behind, I want to be able to keep it kind of interesting, so I will pick all the games first this week.
Hey, that sounds like a fair advantage.
All right, but we still each have to have one upset.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
So we're not going to pick tonight's game. It's already halfway over. I don't even know what the score is. I have no clue. So we're not going to pick the Steelers at Titans. So we'll go right into the Sunday's games. Cowboys at Ravens. I'm going to pick the Ravens. It's just a very clear pick for me. The Cowboys just cannot play up to the potential. The Ravens are 4-1. They're playing at home. Even though they got outplayed by the Chiefs last week, they squeaked out with a win, and I think they'll beat the Cowboys.
I don't even have much to say on this game. I think the Ravens will take this at home.
Bengals at Browns. I'm going to go Bengals in this one. The Browns have yet to win a game. The Bengals, I think, will be a little bit disappointed in themselves after dropping a game to the Miami Dolphins last week. I think they take this one.
See, if they drop a game to Miami Dolphins, I think they can lose in Cleveland. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns, and Brendan Weed and Trent Richardson are going to have a big week this week.
Lions at Eagles. I'm going with my Eagles at home. Now, here's a kind of a shocking stat for the Philadelphia Eagles. They're only averaging 16 points per game. Detroit is averaging 25. So I'm going to go with the Eagles in this game, but I'm not incredibly confident with this pick.
I would have to go with the Eagles in this one, too. It's another home game, like a toss-up game. Gotta go with the Eagles. Michael Vick turned the ball over twice this week on 2 fumbles. Hopefully somebody punches him in the face and tells him to hold on to the damn ball. But I gotta take Eagles in this game, too, as well, against the Lions. Lions aren't near as good as they should be this year.
So the next game on the docket is a challenging one for me to pick. Colts at Jets. I'm really down on the Jets this year. I want to see them crash and burn. I think they are in the middle of crashing and burning. The Colts are coming off a huge win. But is it a win that's going to kind of like be the peak of their season? Or is it going to be a win that kind of turns them around and motivates them to win more? We don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, it was a very emotional win for the Indianapolis Colts. And so I think they're going to drop down this week, and I think they're going to lose. I don't think the Colts can do that 2 weeks in a row. I really don't.
I don't think the Jets are very good, though. I'm going to go Colts.
You go Colts, I'll go Jets. Jets have to turn it around at some point. I mean, there's too much talent on that team, offense and defense, even though with both, the best player on offense, best player on defense, both out with injury, they have to turn it around at some point.
Chiefs at Bucks. My theory didn't work out too well about picking against the Chiefs last week. They still lost, even though I picked against them, hoping that would help them win. Yeah. But me picking against them did help them outplay the other team. They crushed the Ravens statistically. Flacco has like 30 yards in the first quarter. There is, and you're right. And the Chiefs lost the game, and they deserve to lose the game. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs in this game. They're going into the Buccaneers. I actually think that they are favored to lose this game. I think the Bucs are favored in this game. They have one less loss, so they're a half game ahead of the Chiefs. I think Kansas City gets things going. Last week there were only 6 passing plays called in the entire first half. Chiefs' game plan was run, and it worked very, very effectively. I think Brady Quinn, when he was in, he was 2 for 2, and both of those passes were really big third down passes. So I'm interested to see what Brady Quinn can do. He doesn't have to play incredibly great. The Chiefs team is good enough to beat the Bucs if Brady Quinn can manage the game and limit turnovers.
I'm gonna have to go with the Bucks in this game. Actually, it's two bad teams playing in Tampa Bay. Got to take the home team in Tampa Bay. I think Aqib Talib, the cornerback for the, I don't even know if I said that name right.
I don't even know if you were talking English.
Oh yeah, I'm speaking weird ass languages now. But I think he's gonna get an interception and maybe take one to the house. He's really good. That Tampa Bay defense has always had the impact players. If you have enough impact players against offense that is struggling to hold the ball in their hands.
But they're coming off a bye week, and we see teams struggle coming off bye weeks all the time.
Exactly, but they've had 2 weeks to get ready for the Chiefs game.
In theory, it seems like, I don't know, and maybe I don't have any stat to back this feeling up, but it just seems like the teams coming off a bye week are shaky. And this is the 30th offense in the league.
30th offense, but the Chiefs are what? Number 1 offense? Number 2?
Number 4.
Oh, number 4. How many wins did they got?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to take the Buccaneers at home in this game.
All right, the next game, Rams at Dolphins. I'm going to go Rams. I think, man, I'm picking a lot of away teams. This is your chance to catch up.
This is, but I'm going to have to go with the Rams too.
Okay.
But I'll let you give the reason.
Go ahead. I've given a lot of reasons. And
I'm going to go with my impact player, and he's going to destroy that rookie quarterback this week. What's his name? Robert Quinn. He's going to destroy that rookie quarterback, go for 2 weeks in a row, get sacks, pressure the quarterback, maybe even force another fumble, maybe catch an interception. You never know what this guy's going to do. But I got to go Rams, Dolphins.
Raiders at Falcons. This one's easy. Falcons. They might just be the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah. My wife was actually asking me who's going to make it to the Super Bowl this year, and I said Texans, and as long as the Bears don't have to play the Packers in the playoffs, I say Bears.
You're picking a rival to go to the Super Bowl.
Well, as long as they don't have to play the Packers seem to always beat the Bears.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case, then I said the Falcons.
And Oakland is only scoring 16 points per game.
Yeah, they're horrible.
I don't see them even having a shot in this one in Atlanta.
Yeah, put that Ohio State quarterback in and see what happens.
The next game, Bills at Cardinals. This is my upset. I know it's not a huge upset, but I don't know. There's a lot of really close games. There's not like, and the games where there is a clear underdog are not worthy of picking. So I'm gonna go with the Bills to beat the Cardinals.
You know, when you said you had a upset on this game, I didn't know what team you were picking, honestly.
Right? I know. I don't know if it counts as a clear upset or not, but
well, you go Bears.
It's hard to pick an upset this week.
Yeah, you go Bills. I'll go Cardinals. I gotta take them.
Pats at Seahawks. Patriots. Now, I am extremely excited to see the Patriots in Seattle. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. We have Patriots, who are the number 1 offense right now, averaging 439 yards per game and scoring more points per game than any other team, going up against the Seattle defense right now, which right now, after 5 weeks, is number 1, allowing an average of 250 yards per game. That's almost a 200-yard difference. And this is going to be strength versus strength. A great, interesting game. This is hard for me to pick. I said I'd pick first, huh? Are you just waiting?
I'll go. I'll go first.
Okay. I need to think about this one.
Yeah, you look at strength versus strength. The Patriots offense for the Seahawks defense. But by the way, I told you so. Seahawks defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL. I told you that at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, you did.
Strength versus strength.
And you got to mention that every damn week.
I do. Well, because I'm
when you get as many things right as you do, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You cling to your one idea.
Yeah, you're welcome. But anyways,
yeah, thanks.
You look at the strength versus strength. Well, look at the opposite side of the field. The Seahawks offense versus the Patriots defense. I think the Patriots defense has one up on them with the rookie quarterback. I mean, you like him. I know you like him because you have Seahawks fans talking in your ear every week.
No, I don't like him.
Yeah, you do. Shut up.
Right.
No, you like him. You like him.
I just think he's cute.
Well, I take the Patriots in this game because the Patriots defense is better than the Seahawks offense. You got 1 versus 1 on Patriots side of the offense and the Seahawks side of the defense. Patriots defense is going to shut down. I don't know about shut down, but be able to hold the Seahawks offense to minimal yards. They're going to be able to run the ball against the Patriots, I think. depending on Vince Wilfork and, that linebacking core. And the Patriots always have, special adjustments and lineups against offenses. But I think when you look at the whole team versus team, I'm going to have to go Patriots in this game.
Well,
yeah.
Most of the time, when you got a strength versus strength battle going on, you'll go with the defensive strength at home. Why wouldn't you go with the defensive strength at home? However, most of the time, it's not Tom Brady coming into town.
Exactly.
It's really, really hard for me to pick Seattle. I want Seattle to win, but this is going to be kind of a cheap move on my part. I'm willing to admit that. I'm going to go with the Patriots for the main reason that you went with the Patriots, so that if the Seahawks do win, or if the Patriots do win, it doesn't hurt me. That's kind of a cheap thing to do. And I'm sorry about doing that, but at least I'm being honest about it. But I can't wait to watch that game. It's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah. I can punch you in the face next time I see you. Don't worry.
All right, that'll work. All is even. All right. So I'll start picking first from here on out again. Vikings at Redskins. I'm going to go with the Washington Redskins at home, and here's why. Washington is last in third down percentage. So you're thinking, okay, why the hell are you going with them? Because they're still scoring a hell of a lot of points and winning the turnover battle. I think they're +4 in the turnover battle. I don't have that in front of me right now, but from memory, I think they're +4. And I'm going to go with the Redskins at home against them.
As much as I hate to say it, I think the Vikings are going to go 5-1. Vikings are going to win this game. I mean, they don't turn the ball over. Ponder's not doing much. Peterson's not doing much, but they're winning the ball with that defense and that special teams. I got to go Vikings in this game.
We're disagreeing a lot this week. This is going to be fun. All right, Giants at 49ers. I'm going 49ers. This is another really interesting matchup, though, where you have the number 2 offense in the Giants going up against a really, really good defense. And the number 1 running game right now is the San Francisco 49ers. So this will be a very interesting game. What's weird is that the San Francisco 49ers are scoring a lot of points right now. They're averaging almost 30 points per game, which is enough for 5th in the league. When you think about 49ers, you don't think explosive offense, but right now, their offense is really, really good. I'm going to go 49ers at home for sure.
Well, you go with 49ers at home just to piss you off. I'm going to go Giants on the road.
That doesn't piss me off. That gives me another point next week.
No. That's a point for me. Because, I said, Eli Manning is one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Eli Manning is going to tear apart that defense. He'll be the first quarterback this year to tear apart the 49ers defense. And the Giants are going to win. Ahmad Bradshaw's coming off that 200-yard game. And they're going to win. I go Giants.
What is going on with the Green Bay Packer offense? They're only scoring 22 points per game. They're actually losing the turnover battle. I mean, not by a lot, but they are losing the turnover battle. Now they're going into a very, very tough place. Houston, a 5-0 Houston team right now. I'm so glad it's a Sunday night football game, meaning it can get my sole attention. I'm going to go Texans. Because I haven't seen the Packers offense show up consistently yet, and because the Texans are winning the time of possession battle right now. They're number 1 in time of possession, and if they can keep Aaron Rodgers off the field, like they've been doing so far, keeping the other offense off the field, then that is how you beat the Packers. We saw that last year when Kansas City found a way to beat the Packers. They just kept him off the field. I think the Texans will win, but it'll be pretty close.
Yeah. I don't blame you for that pick, but what's been going on with the Packers? Cedric Benson is going to be out for 8 weeks. He's starting running back.
That's going to be tough. Yeah.
Greg Jennings has not been 100% at all this year. He's played in a couple games, but, he hasn't been healthy. Donald Driver's getting older and older by the week. And, they just don't have the firepower with Greg Jennings out, who is actually a free agent this year. And Packers are kind of getting a taste of what they're going to have, next year, because I don't believe the Packers are going to sign Greg Jennings again.
Ooh,
right?
That'd be huge. Yeah, okay.
Well, I really don't, because they don't spend money on big free agents.
Right.
They never have and they never will, which I don't blame them for. I mean, they always find talent in the draft. But anyways, in this game, it's going to be interesting because Brian Cushing of the Houston Texans One of the best players on defense is going to be out for the year. Got injured last week.
Are you happy about that?
No, not really.
You're not supposed to be happy. Okay, just checking. Make sure you're being consistent.
Well, no, he's a USC guy, just like Clay Matthews. He was a Clay Matthews teammate at USC. Clay Matthews came out in the media this week and said, what about protecting defensive players like you guys protect offensive players?
Yeah,
so I don't know if you saw that.
I'm so tired of this boo-hoo NFL player stories that are coming out all the time, though. I don't care if it's protect the quarterback, protect the defense. I'm so tired of people wanting me to feel sorry for football players.
Yeah, well, if you go one way, though, you got to go the other way. I
don't want to go either way.
No. If you go one side of the football, you got to go the other side. You can't protect one guy. You can't protect, like, a defense and not protect the offense. You can't protect the offense and not protect the defense. If you can hit a quarterback high, you should be able to hit a freaking linebacker high. But no, you can't even touch a quarterback without getting a flag thrown. You can't touch a quarterback
and that really pisses you off because you want to touch quarterbacks. I can tell.
No. No.
Don't you kind of see what I'm going at, though?
What?
With just all these stories coming out about feel sorry for the players. Am I making this up that it's getting ridiculous?
You know what's funny, though, is I'm arguing the Packers' opponents on this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like I'm arguing a Packers point. I'm arguing a defensive player's point. But
at the same time, you're not arguing against the Packers.
No, I'm
you're
not
arguing for the Texans. Yeah.
No,
that's fine.
I'm arguing because I think Clay Matthews and Brian Cushing has a point. And
I think they have something else more than a point going on.
Yeah, well.
Bow chicka bow wow.
Well, anyways, this week,
would you make your pick already?
Yeah, I'll go Packers.
Of course.
Yeah.
Which I can't blame you for. You got to,
I gotta go. I mean, Packers are.
I'm gonna pick the Chiefs from here on out. Oh my God, I don't give a damn. I'm ahead 5 picks. I can pick the Chiefs every damn week until you catch up again. Then I'll stop picking them. Yeah. All right, Broncos at Chargers. I'm gonna say the Broncos win this, mainly because I really want them to keep the division close. If the Chargers win, then they'll go up to 4-2, and then it'll be a little bit harder for the Chiefs to catch up. I'm gonna go Broncos. I think Peyton Manning will play well. Peyton Manning actually outplayed Tom Brady, but it was the Patriots' run game last week that won them the game. I think the Broncos will play well. I think Peyton Manning will play well, and Phillip Rivers. The Chargers really aren't that good. People are going to be tired of me saying this, and so I'll try not to say it next week. But the Chiefs also outplayed the Chargers. They did.
I'll go Chargers.
They had about 100 more yards than the Chargers did.
Don't even.
But it doesn't matter. The Chargers aren't that good. Broncos win.
Just because you say that, I'm going to go Chargers in this game. You just won yourself a point probably, but I go Chargers.
Woohoo!
Let's go.
All right, so that's it. That's the week 6 matchups. Week 1, whatever.
Week 1.
All right, turning points. You ready, Cartman?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
If you had the opportunity to discover the exact date you will die, do you want to know?
No, absolutely not. I do not want to know.
What is your favorite current player not on the Packers?
It's got to be Ray Lewis. I can't help but love Ray Lewis.
If animals could run for president, what animal would you vote for?
The sloth.
That's pretty much what you get, right?
Yeah, well, they move so slow, they don't do much, so yeah, it sounds like a president, so...
There you go. Yeah. Should hot dog eating be considered a sport?
Oh yeah, have you ever tried to eat 35 hot dogs in a minute? Good luck.
Should breastfeeding be allowed in public?
With 3 kids, I should say yes. I mean, if, your kid's hungry, you gotta feed them. I mean, there's a lot to do with, you gotta cover up and everything like that. But yeah, it should be allowed.
But should it be considered a sport?
Breastfeeding?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a sport.
Why not? Have you ever tried breastfeeding? You said, have you ever tried eating all these hot dogs at the same time? You ever tried breastfeeding all these people at the same time? Of course it should be a sport. I'd watch it. All right, Falcons or Texans? You have to choose one of these teams to play in the Super Bowl, but you only get one. Which one?
Texans. No doubt, Texans.
Are the Lakers the team to beat in the West?
Yes, absolutely. I think the Lakers, with the addition of Steve Nash and Superman, Lakers have to be the best team in the NBA. I picked them to win.
Do chickens think rubber humans are funny? Why do we think rubber chickens are funny? Do they think rubber humans are funny? I don't know.
I would
do you
hope
think?
so. It's got to be a give and take type of thing.
All right. Should Michael Vick be allowed to own a dog?
Michael Vick should not be allowed to own a dog. That's like,
I can't even think molester being allowed to have a kid. Can a child molester have a kid? I would imagine they could.
pedophile owning a Barbie.
Yeah, that's not okay. Did you know Michael Vick does have a dog, though?
Oh, he does?
He does.
Well, does he have a pet pedophile owning a Barbie?
Y'all ready for this?
Kill me.
Moving on to something else.
You don't seem to have much of a handle on this.
Sports talk is over.
God, you think that every thought that comes out of your head is pure gold. Well, let me tell you something. Some of those thoughts are pure caca.
If you were a chick, who's the one guy you would sleep with? John Stamos. What? Did we just become best friends? Yup.
It is time for Geek Speak.
See, if you had killed me when I said kill me, I wouldn't have had to hear that.
It's time for Geek Speak, and on today's Geek Speak, we're going to start by talking about how to be a fan. It's hard being a fan these days. There's so many things you got to kind of figure out. So what we're going to do is Cartman and I are going to give you some advice about being a fan, and I'm actually hopefully going to learn something while we do this. So Cartman, my big question for you is kind of a geeky thing, but it's also sports related, is fantasy football. Fantasy football is huge, right? But the problem with fantasy football is that a lot of times it contradicts being a fan for your team. So how do you deal with playing against your favorite players in fantasy football?
When I watch a game on Sunday, you know, especially when I'm watching a Packers game, I don't even think about fantasy football. You know, like, if the Packers win, that's all I honestly care about. My fantasy football honestly comes second. You know, if Aaron Rodgers, I'm playing against Aaron Rodgers or James Jones or Cedric Benson, you know, I don't root against them while I watch the game. While I watch the game, I root for the Packers.
Right.
And then, you know, later, then I worry about what the fantasy thing is, you know, and like if it's a Monday night game, it comes down to a player doing well or, you know, the Bears losing. You know, I just watch the game and then I focus on fantasy later.
But when you're setting your fantasy football rosters, you kind of have any like things like, I am not going to start a player that the Packers are playing against. So like this week, say you had Arian Foster on your fantasy football team, would you be like, I'm not starting Arian Foster because then I'd kind of feel like I'd sort of have to root for him kind of a way?
No, absolutely not, because I don't root for my fantasy players. I root for my favorite team. I never root against the Packers in real life, but I will play a player that is playing against the Packers because they're going to score points, you know, like Reggie Wayne. He played against the Packers last week. I played him in both my leagues, and he freaking won both my leagues for me, you know. Call. And I played him against him, and at 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, I put him in the starting lineups. Yeah. And, you know, I that's what I've learned is that fantasy and reality football, you can't mix them, you know. You got to keep them separate. You know, and you can't be a fan of one and root against your own team.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more on this. So maybe we should make a... What was that?
That was me coughing.
Oh, I was like, it sounded like you fell down. Oh. But, I think we should make kind of like a fandom rule here where you have to learn to separate fantasy football being a fan. Like when I am setting my fantasy football rosters, I am just completely thinking about which one of these players are going to get me the most points. I'm not really necessarily caring how my fandom factors into that. I don't just draft Chief players. I don't avoid drafting players from teams I dislike. I just always try to get the best matchups no matter what. And then on Sunday, I'm rooting red and yellow. You know, I'm rooting for the Chiefs no matter what. I'm screaming, yelling, jumping up and down for the Chiefs. And but let's say, so who they playing? I don't have any Tampa Bay Buccaneers on my fantasy football team. But let's say last week I have Ray Rice on a couple of my teams. I was thinking as Ravens are getting close down and it's apparent that they're going to score. I'm like, well, if they score, it might as well be Ray Rice. You know what I mean? I hope they don't score, but if they do,
I know exactly what
it
you mean.
might as well be Ray Rice. Now what about fantasy football still, rooting? You know, it's funny how fans, as we're rooting, we kind of think we have some kind of influence when we're just sitting on our couch. So I don't even know if this even makes sense or it's even worth talking about. Actually, I know it's not, but we're going to do it anyway. When you're playing against a player that you also have in another fantasy football league. So like last week, I needed Peyton Manning to have a big game for me to win one fantasy, but I was playing against him in another one. How do you deal with rooting in that situation or cheering in that situation?
I mean, whichever league has the most money up to win.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way it goes. I mean, if you have a league that's all fans, you know, just fans for fun, you know, but
so you have priorities. I mean, this league to you is more important than this league, and that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, like the thing is, like, you're going to start them no matter what. You know, if you're rooting against them in one league, you have to start that guy. You have to start Peyton Manning in the league that you have him in.
But when you're watching it on Sunday and you're like, oh, go. But no. Oh, go. But no. You know.
To enjoy a football game, you can't think about your fantasy.
Are you kidding me? I love.
You can't.
Oh, I love it. It makes like watching a game that's completely meaningless to me exciting. Like now, I should be watching the Steelers game. I'm not. I have no clue what's happening. But I have.
Yeah, but you just gave me the example of you having him in two different leagues. You know, either you win or you lose.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I do.
That was the example I was going off of, and you can't root for him in both. You can't root for him and then go against him in that situation. You just got to watch the game. You know, that's just the way it goes.
I agree with you on that point, but I do disagree with you slightly on how to root for something. In my opinion, this is what I do. To keep my sanity, I don't really worry about who I'm playing against. All I do is always root for the players that are on my teams. You know what I mean? So I was rooting for Peyton Manning to get a lot of points because even if I end up losing in the other one, you want to have points because points are the tiebreakers in most leagues, right? So you want your team, even if you're going to lose, you want your team to score as many points as possible. And so that's the reason why I always root for my players. And I don't even really worry about necessarily rooting against the players I'm playing against. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
What about superstitions? Do you have kind of like as you're watching, you sit in one spot unless they start doing bad, so you move to another spot, or you're drinking a beer in this hand, and then they start losing, so you switch hands, start drinking the beer in the other hand. Do you have anything weird like that?
I actually do not have any superstition when it comes to the Packers, but my wife does.
Oh, yeah, let's hear them.
Oh, gosh. During the Super Bowl, when the Packers won the Super Bowl, or actually during any Packers games, if it's a really close game, Dessa will take a bath.
What?
I'm not even kidding.
Oh, that's awesome!
If the game gets stressful, Dessa will be like, I'm taking a bath. And she'll go hop in the bath. When the Packers beat the Steelers for the Super Bowl, Dessa took like 3 baths during that game. And just
she's gonna kick your ass.
Watching when she was watching the Packers and Seahawks game, and it got really down towards the end, she went and took a bath. She didn't watch the game. She went and took a bath. And, that's just the way she feels it, because she can't watch the game. So she goes and does her own thing,
Good for her.
Away from it. And me, personally, I don't have any superstitions. I don't even have to wear a Packers jersey to watch a Packers game. I do it because I'm a fan and it's kind of fun.
Oh, yeah?
But it's not a superstition. I don't think I have to wear a jersey.
I do.
During a game.
I don't have to wear a jersey, but I have to wear something with Chiefs. And if they start off really bad, I'll go change my shirt. And then if that's not working, I'll put on a different Chiefs shirt. And I'll do that. And it doesn't work. Or sometimes, I will be, so I have DirecTV, right? So sometimes I'll be watching them from the Mix channel where I can watch all the games at the same time. But I'll be tuned into the Chief game so I can hear that game. But then if they start playing bad, then I'll click on the game so I'm only watching the Chief game. So I do things thinking I have some sort of influence, and it's because I'm a freaking weirdo. And I think it's a big difference between your team winning a lot and my team not winning a lot. I'm a lot more desperate for wins than you are.
Well, I'm a Packers fan, dude. I'm desperate for wins right now.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's been times in my life, it's like, if I wasn't watching that game, would they have won? You know, I've thought about that stuff in my head, and it's obviously not.
Right.
It wouldn't matter.
Right.
But, you know, I kind of always think about that. Oh, gosh, if I just wasn't watching that, it wouldn't piss me off so much. Or they would have gotten that field goal last week. Or,
yeah.
You know, it always goes through any fan's mind. But honestly, it has nothing to do with anything.
Now, but something that we fans do have control over is trash talking. And
ooh, yeah, you're good at that.
I am okay at it. Here's who's not good at it, though. And this
Seahawk fans.
Well, not necessarily Seahawk fans. All teams have really bad fans. We think Seahawk fans are bad at it because we live in Washington State and we have to deal with Seahawk fans a lot. But if we lived in New York, we would think that Jets and Giants fans are really bad at it. You know, it's just because we live in Washington State that we rip on Seahawk fans so much. However, any fan and you see this on the internet all the time in forums or game threads or things like that, where people just go on and they say, your team sucks. And then they expect me to stand up and applaud that comment like they said anything at all that was worthy of saying, that means anything. When you just yell out, your team sucks, or Seahawks suck, or Chiefs suck, or Packers suck, you look like a freaking moron. I had a great conversation, disagreement, argument with many people this week. Mostly about the Big Chief headline, with many different people. And not once did we just yell out, Chiefs suck. Because that's a horrible argument. That is not a good conversation.
And you know what?
It's stupid.
Well, I live around a lot of Seahawk fans, and they always talk trash about the Packers. You know what shuts them up?
What?
Be like, put $100 on the game. And I do that all the time. A Seahawk fan will say, Packers suck, they're gonna lose. I bet you $50. Bet you $100. Bet you $20.
Do they take you up on them?
No, never.
Never? Not once?
Never. No Seahawk. Well, actually, one Seahawk fan bet me 10. I told him, bet me $50 on that Seahawk Packers game. He said, bet me 10. And so I owed him $10. But, I mean, if somebody's just saying something stupid like that, they have nothing to back it up, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, when people yell,
like that.
Your team sucks, or they yell, this player sucks, or something like that, all you're doing is showing that you have no clue what you're talking about. You have nothing better to say. Moving on to our next headline. Our next Geek Speak headline, we're going to be looking at The Office so far. We did a little bit of preview to The Office when it was just starting up, and we are 3 episodes in. I just want to say, but I really like where The Office is going this season, and I was super critical of it last year. But I'll tell you the main reason why The Office is a really good show this year. What they did last year wrong was they took the character of Andy, and they tried to use Andy to replace Michael Scott. And that doesn't work.
Yeah, they didn't, make them their own characters and try to bring their own characters out.
Right.
They tried to replace what they lost.
Exactly. But this season, I think they're doing a lot better job of making Andy again. Andy is a really good Andy. Andy is a horrible Michael Scott. So I think that's the main reason why this season is working. Also, this season they have 2 new characters that are just really, really good. The 2 young guys that now work in the office, watch them. There's something interesting going on with them, and they're going to, I think, have an interesting role in some of the main storylines of the show. And they're really good actors. I really like those 2 characters.
You know, I haven't seen the show yet, but I probably will when I go home. I'll probably go and try to download them and watch them and check it out, because it sounds pretty good.
Oh, and Kevin is hilarious this season.
I always thought that Kevin needed to be more of a predominant actor in the show.
Yeah, I love that character. Another good thing that The Office is doing right now is that they're putting the attention back on Pam and Jim. And right now it's subtle, but you can tell that it's going to be a pretty big deal this season. And the show when it's not revolving around Michael Scott, it's revolving around Pam and Jim, and they kind of ditched that a lot last season, and they're bringing that back again this season, and I have some high hopes for The Office this season. I'm really looking forward to where it goes, and I'm very proud of what they've done so far. A lot better than last year.
Yeah, it kind of surprised me when they were having their second baby. They kind of like snuck it in a little bit.
Well, it's because that actress really got pregnant. They had to write it in.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know if they would have taken that direction had she not gotten pregnant.
Yeah, they didn't mention it much at all in the show.
And then she was just gone for a while.
Yeah.
But so far, so good. Our final...
I'm excited to see it all.
Yeah. Our final geek headline is kind of an interesting one because it's combining two things that we've talked about on two separate shows. It's combining Adam Carriker, which is one of both of our favorite players because we've known him personally. We went to the same high school, and professional wrestling. Now, Adam Carriker is a huge professional wrestling fan. He goes on he does. I don't know if he does his own podcast based around professional wrestling or if he just appears on other people's professional wrestling podcasts, but I follow him on Twitter and I follow him on Facebook, and he is always talking about professional wrestling. He's huge into it, and he actually made a bet with Bill Goldberg on the Falcons and Redskins game because Carriker is obviously a Redskins fan, and Bill Goldberg used to play defensive tackle for the Atlanta Falcons, and so they made a bet on that game, and Carriker lived up to his end of the bargain by dressing up like Bill Goldberg and then posting these pictures on Twitter.
Oh, wow.
It's hilarious. He is all greased up, and I think Adam Carriker was enjoying himself because he actually took 3 pictures of himself and was like...
Was he totally bald?
No, he didn't shave his head, but he is only wearing the black underwear. That thing.
Oh my gosh.
And
I'm not sure if I want to see the
pictures. And he's greased up, and he looks like he's having a lot of fun. He looks like he's in some kind of locker room, but it might just be like his office or band room. And the pictures are hilarious. And props to Adam Carriker for showing your true geekiness. And also for being a man, being a bro, and living up to your bets.
Definitely.
So, Cartman, you had a contest a couple shows back. How did that contest go?
The contest went actually not good at all.
Yeah,
not very many people entered it, and I was hoping it, reaches out at all. But we did have a winner.
We did have a winner, and just like Adam Carriker, who's willing to live up to the things that he says he'll do, we will live up to the things that we say we'll do. So, Cartman, who was our winner?
A guy named Matt Hilditch. But I hear he's a Seahawks fan.
I don't know if he's a Seahawks fan. He says he's a Seahawks fan.
Well, I hope he's not because I will not buy a Seahawks fan.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, you will.
But I will. Yeah, I might. Just because. But, hey, Matt, hit us up. Tell us what kind of hat you want. You want LSU? You want Mariners? You want Oklahoma City Thunder? Let us know. And we'll hit you up. Give us your address, and we'll get it to you.
You want North Carolina? Something like that? He hates North Carolina.
Oh, he does? Oh, okay. Well, he ain't getting no Seahawk hat. He ain't getting no Chicago Bears hat.
Or Broncos, or Raiders, or Chargers, or...
Oh, I would happily send him the Broncos hat.
You would. All right. Hey, but what about some advice this week, Cartman? I'm dying for some good advice.
You need some advice? Well, I got some good ones. Let's see. Well, behind every great man is a woman rolling her eyes.
Not only true, but that's some good advice.